So always expect the unexpected, have spare parts on hand. Ta-da! Hi friends, welcome back to the shop or channel, and if you're a first-time visitor, just watch this video, welcome. I'm Dana. Today we're going to be doing the first of many, I'm going to call it mechanical maintenance on our 1999 Chevy Metro. What we're going to be doing here is working on the coolant system, because when I bought the car we had one little tiny plastic piece that was missing, and because I couldn't find that little tiny plastic piece to buy, we're going to do it all. To be more specific, this little plastic piece right here on our expansion coolant tank, the cap is just gone. You could probably drive the car fine without it, just keep an eye on your coolant levels, but me and my nitpickiness, I want the car to be mechanically perfect. So we bought a whole new expansion tank off of eBay. I think this one's technically for a Suzuki Swift. A lot of the parts are interchangeable. And while we're in there, hoses and a thermostat, because you're in there. And all of these part numbers are going to be in our description of this video. Now, especially because this is an older car, but I would do this on a newer vehicle as well, we are going to put a chalk behind the rear wheel just to make sure that the parking brake doesn't give way and the car goes crashing down. Alright, in order for us to replace this expansion reservoir, it's actually behind the headlamp assembly, we're going to end up draining the coolant, pulling off the hose, pulling out the actual headlamp assembly in order to access the mounting bolts for the reservoir. So let's get started. View from the underside is our radiator. We've got our mounting brackets here, and right in the middle we've got a little plastic drain plug, so pull that out and all your coolant's going to drain out. I'm going to make sure that I pop the top on the radiator so that air can go in as we're draining out the coolant. This should be a little bit under pressure even though the engine is cool, and then we'll get to work replacing all the hoses in the expansion tank. The definition of your car pissing everywhere.
Same color too. A little dehydrated. Might want to fix that.
A little dehydrated. What a wonderful aroma for the morning. All right, let's get that headlamp off. All right, removal of the headlamp is actually super simple. It's 2 Phillips screws and 1 little clippy, which I noticed on my Metro, the little clippy is actually not connected. So when we reinstall the headlamp assembly, we're going to fix that. So, Phillips, here you have 1 right on the front. You have 1 right on top. Now this is almost ready to come out. You want to disconnect your headlamp bulb from the housing, just unplug it so that you can remove the housing entirely. When you pull the housing assembly away, you'll be able to see and access all the electrical plugs to unplug. All right, we're just going to basically go left to right unplugging things. So this is going to be our turn signal marker. And we've got our actual headlamp here. Just gives you a little bit more leverage when it comes to pulling out that plug. And look at that! My whole bulb is a little loose. I'll fix that in a minute. And the last one's just a twist and turn. Twist it, pull it out. Alright, in order to remove the expansion tank, it's held in place by 2 mounting bolts and a hose, the inlet hose, down at the bottom. In order to pull this off, you need your hose clamps. You know, if you don't have the hose clamp tool, you can use just regular vice grips or pliers to get that off. But I'm going to start down here, disconnect the hose, and then we can tackle the 2 bolts holding it in place. All the King's Lube could not get that little bolt off. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull the entire bracket out of the fender panel and put it in a vise to remove it from the old expansion tank. Ta-da! Alright, now that my 20-year-old tool has died, we're going to switch to our universal tool here and start removing these hoses. I'm going to start with the upper one. Oh, this is really stuck on there. Go. Get the other end of that down by our thermostat, which we will also be replacing. All right, comes right off. Whee! Now, at the time that I purchased all these hoses, I forgot to go back and reorder this rear heater hose. So what I'm going to end up doing is just replacing what I have. And if I have a failure in the future, I will know exactly which hose it is. So now let's get to this one because I can reach that from the top. This lower hose off. All right, to get the other one, we'll have to go underneath. And all of the previous owners, any number of them, wisdom, they put a different kind of hose clamp on here. And so this maybe sees too. Let's give it a go. Yeah, that'll be fun. So always expect the unexpected, have spare parts on hand. This is the hose clamp to the lower radiator hose, and trying to get that little screw loosened, it just popped off in the socket. So our solution is to cut the lower hose off and then take a Dremel to get our completely rusted, I don't even know how old this is, hose clamp off. So we've got spares, we've got a new hose, we weren't too worried about it. Alright, so I want to call out that the new replacement hoses that I purchased, you know, AutoZone, typical auto parts store, they're telling me that this is the exact fit, but also be prepared to cut them in order to make them fit. You can see how the bends align between our old hoses and our new hoses. And similarly on my heater hose, I did have to cut off a significant bit in order to make it fit on the back of the car. We did swap our pad from the old hose onto the new one. If you need to get that on there, just use a little bit of spray lubricant to get that squished into place as needed. Alright, we're going to reinstall the expansion tank, and if you wanted to, now's the time where you could put a little bit of anti-seize on your bolts just to make sure that they do come out again in the future. Go. Alright, now for the fun part. We've pulled off our old thermostat and put the housing back in place. We haven't torqued down the bolts at all because we're going to end up needing to take that back off to put our new thermostat in after we flush the engine. So in order to flush the engine, we're going to put our garden hose in here run water through it until it comes out clear right here. And then we're going to do the reverse. Put a hose down here, run water through it until it comes out clear up here.
You're clear. It's all clear.
Now we're going to flush the radiator, and we're going to do it with the same concept. So we're going to pour water in the upper part of the radiator and watch until it comes out clear from the bottom. I think that's already clear.
It is.
Another fine example of while we're in here, we went ahead and removed the entire thermostat housing to replace this one gasket. So there's that gasket. And the new one fits on just like that. Alright, with all of our hoses in place, everything's been flushed, and we have our new thermostat in place. Keep in mind that the only thing that we actually needed to replace on this engine was the expansion cooling tank. So if you're in there and you see that things are old or possibly on its way out, if you're already taking care of one piece, go ahead and take care of those other parts. Otherwise, just reuse what you have. Alright, the coolant that we're going to be using is the GM Vehicles Prestone. I went ahead and bought the concentrate because we do have the Chevy C10 truck, and Lord only knows the next time we're going to be working on either of these vehicles with the cooling systems. So I'm going to pre-mix it in my empty and pour it in. Alright, because we have multiple vehicles, we got some pretty cool tools. So this is going to be a filler kit for the radiator, and what this is going to enable us to do is burp the coolant a whole lot easier. What we're going to do is fill the radiator, and as soon as it stops registering in here, get it about 1/3 of the way full, turn the engine on, let it idle until the thermostat kicks on. That should suck more coolant out of our reservoir here and put it in through the engine, and we'll just keep monitoring the position here until we have no more air bubbles and all of the coolant has been dispersed throughout the radiator and the engine and possibly the expansion tank, just to make sure that we have enough coolant in the engine. I've got my pre-mixed coolant here. And that is about, what does that say? It's about 1 liter. We'll go ahead and do a full send into the radiator. And if I can not spill things. Now you could do this manually, but we find that this is a lot easier. Keep doing this until coolant stays in my reservoir. Between the expansion tank, the radiator, and the engine, this vehicle should hold about 3.9 liters. And my bottle here is 3.78 liters. So let's see how many we can get in here. All right, now we've got another liter there. still have at least 1.5 liters in here. Get the engine cranked and get it going. Alright, as the engine warms up, and as soon as that thermostat opens, we should see this get sucked down into the engine. To further make sure that that happens and you get fresh coolant into your heater core, go ahead and turn on your defroster on your windshield with the heat cranked to max. Alright, the thermometer, the gauge on the inside of the dash is starting to creep up a little bit. So at any moment, that thermostat should open and help cool off the engine. Thanks for joining us at the start of this journey. We'll have many more videos to come. And as you can see, we don't hold back with things that may not work out the way that we planned. Owning a classic car is one part lots of research, and one part, when you peel back the layers, you might find something new and unexpected. So until next time, thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.